Okay, we are recording. Hey, everybody. For those of you who don't know who I am Joy Bowen. And yes, Andrew and I actually are in two separate locations. He's upstairs, I'm downstairs. And that's just how this house rolls. Like, we need to, find a different house, but he won't let me for another 2 years. So we have to split up when we do these calls. But Andrew and I are both co-founders of Team Rising Phoenix, and we are so excited because we have been on summer break, and not really summer break, but because I feel like we brought to you the most awesome summer series ever with all the guest speakers. I know I changed my business based on what was shared over this past summer. So for those of you who might be new to our team, all of our team calls, we keep a file, like a working document in our team page. So you can just go to the Rising Phoenix team page. You can click on files and all of the recordings should be there. If they're not, you can ping me and I'll make sure to update it, but it should be all updated at this point. I have just a few little announcements to make sure everybody knows about before Andrew dives into the meat of the call. And I want to just make sure that everybody knows about Summit. Summit will be here before you know it. We're going back to Indianapolis. It's going to be July 11th through the 14th. If you are a brand new coach, you can earn a free ticket to Summit by achieving Success Club your first, second, and third month in the business. They literally give you a ticket. So yes, Debbie got her free ticket, so she is excited about that. So anyway, it's Summit is like a game changer in this business. It's really hard to describe what happens when, how many people were there? Over 20,000?
Just under.
Yeah. When that amount of people descend on a city, and not only do we have a ton of fun, there's a super workout where all 20,000 people flood the streets of Indianapolis, and we do this crazy super workout where all the super trainers take their turn at trying to crush us. And it's fun, believe it or not, even though you feel like you might die. Just kidding. You don't feel like you might die. You're having too much fun.
Yes, you do. Yes.
But you also, there's like so many events that you can be a part of, but you also learn so much from leaders in the business, keynote speakers. Really, it is so hard for any of us to take all that content and then present it to the team. And so we just really feel very strongly that if you are a business owner, you need to take ownership of your business. And that includes, being a learner and getting yourself to Summit so that you can have the tools you need to take your business to the next level. If you want your business to pay you like a business, then you got to treat it like a business. And that's the one time each year that we all gather together. It's kind of like this big family reunion, and we get better together. So mark your calendars now before you all start planning for summer vacation next year, because I know how that goes. We start planning like a year in advance. July 11th through the 14th, we're going to be in Indianapolis. It's the coolest city. I wasn't really excited the first time that we were announced being there. I thought, oh my gosh, how fun can Indianapolis be? And y'all, it is the most beautiful, fun city. I felt so safe. Like, it's just beautiful. Okay, the other thing I need to touch on is New Leader Conference is coming up. You can check out FAQ 1431. But basically, to earn an invitation to go to New Leader Conference, you have to have 10 elite points and be a star diamond coach. Hi, cutie. And so that means that you would have to start your star diamond qualification about mid-November in order to finish that up by the end of the year to get your invitation to go to LA. New Leader Conference is also a massive game changer because it is a more intimate setting. You gather as leaders in the business and you discuss things that are going to help you go next level, 2-star, 5-star, like wherever you want to go in this business. So it's very much, I feel like New Leader Conference was the thing that changed my business radically. Like, it helped me go to the next level. How many of you know that pumpkin spice is coming out this month? How many did not know is coming out this month? Pumpkin spice latte. Pumpkin spice latte is coming out on the 14th. Did I get that right, Andrew? You can fact check.
Yes, it's 14th in the United States, October 11th in Canada.
Okay, and so here's the things that I'm processing through, like what would possibly be the best way to leverage this for the best impact in our businesses. There's two schools of thought that I'm kind of weighing out. One, so let me process through that for another day or two. I promise to go live in the team page with a game plan, okay? And I'll give it all to you, but I don't quite have it hashed out yet tonight. So I need another like 24, 48 hours to really think through the details of that. So anyway, the things that you need to know about that launch right now. It's a limited edition. It probably will sell out. I'm guessing maybe even on the first day. Beach Bars, when they were launched, they literally sold out like day one. So I'm guessing Pumpkin Spice Latte is going to do the same. It is a 14 packet bundle, so it's not a 30-day supply. It's just 14 vegan packets, and it does not count toward your 90 HD or like any of the PV needed for your 90, HD to be a qualified emerald. So just know that this would be like a seasonal extra thing if you want it for yourself, or if you want to buy the 14 packets and then maybe do a giveaway. If someone buys a challenge pack, you'll send them 2 packets of pumpkin spice latte as a thank you or something to that effect. But just know that it is very limited edition. It is going to sell out. And so if you want to get in on your 14 packets, be ready to order that like when it releases. And then real quick on social media stuff. So I think you all saw in the team page that I posted just kind of like an update on some Facebook things that have been happening to a few of the leader coaches. And it is just a reminder to keep doing what you're doing, but get really good at storytelling. If you are a brand new coach and you're leveraging your personal Facebook page to spread the word about what you do and how it's changing your life, just get really good at storytelling, okay? And in asking engaging questions. You want to be very cautious about, like doing a direct call to action or selling on Facebook personal pages, okay? Because they can shut you down without even letting you know in advance. So if you have any questions, if you're ever in doubt, like, hey, is this okay to post? We have a gazillion threads. We have our team page. You can say, hey, this is what I'd like to post. Is this like curiosity marketing enough? And we will give you feedback to that. So don't let it freak you out. Don't let it change what you're doing. But I will say Instagram is a very wonderful place to build your business. And we're going to be doing a lot more training on that in the weeks to come. Okay. I think that covers it all. Did I miss anything, babe?
I don't think so.
Well, I'm excited to have Andrew lead a call for all of us, because for those of you who don't know, he is like our podcast guru. I just made up the title.
I'd say addict, maybe. I'm not sure about guru.
Well, I was going to call you a podcast nerd.
Well, that's appropriate.
I thought guru was a little more like sexy.
Well, I appreciate that because I get that from work all the time. I'm always the revenue management guru, which I'm always like, dude, that's not me, but whatever. Okay.
It sounds a little bit like Yoda-esque, which could be fitting for you. So.
Well, which I was going to say, I want to point this out. Like, you'll notice Joy's background is all like, darling, you're fabulous, and pastels, and Betsy the cow. And notice mine is all Star Wars, all 3. Bruce Lee, I got to find a spot for at this point because my son never put them up. And then one of my absolute favorite quotes, nobody cares, work harder. So anyways, with that, let's transition a little bit over to this one. And as Joy put it pretty succinctly, I am a podcast nerd. And as you guys know, one of the major vital behaviors is personal development. And obviously, I use podcasting as a lot of my way to do the personal development side of my business. I also read as well. For those of you in the apartment industry, there's a couple of you on this call that's in there. I highly recommend a book called Eviction. I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. It is about how, a total tangent by the way, guys, is about how the low end of the rental housing industry is potentially contributing to the poverty line. But it's a really interesting read. I do still read, but I spend a lot of my time on planes, a lot of my time in cars back and forth. And obviously it's a really bad idea to read while you're driving. Don't do that. Stupid idea. But it's a great idea to get lost in a podcast. And a couple of my favorites that are recent ones. Let me bring these up and share my screen with you. No, not yet. Over here, yes. Let's do share screen. And I want to share this one. Okay, so that's actually not what I want you to look at. I want you to look at this one. So one of my favorites right now is a podcast.
Oh, wait. Okay, sorry. It jumped on the screen and I was trying to mute me because I was like, I can't see your screen. Okay,
oh, awesome. Sorry. So in other words, my wife thought I was saying something stupid, so she tried to mute me. Finding Mastery is a great one. It is actually a podcast by a gentleman named Michael Gervais, who is a sports psychologist. He works with the Seattle Seahawks and others, and his whole podcast is inviting industry experts from across various different industries about their pursuit of mastery and what does mastery actually look like to them. And very recently, he brought on a guest named Tom Bilyeu. And Tom Bilyeu actually has another webcast that's on there called Impact Theory. But Tom Bilyeu, if any of you have ever eaten a Quest bar in your life, he was the person who founded Quest Nutrition. And he's got a really interesting backstory. I'm not going to go through all of it right now, but he quite literally wants to live forever. He has the goal, and he believes that either the first person who's going to be immortal either already has been born or very soon will be born, either through mindset download and AI or through actually living through medical science. We're not going to go into that aspect of it, but that's his passion point, is to understand, okay, well, how do we live forever on there? And his whole thing with impact theory is, how do you truly make an impact? What are the things that you should be focusing in as an individual to be able to make sure you're making an impact on other people's lives? So I will, if you want, I will share you those different websites, etc. But two ones I highly recommend. But I've been processing over the last week the impact theory one, and especially because last week I had the opportunity to speak at a management company's conference in Miami. And it was this very stark realization in my own experience, especially with an employer, and doing this business very obviously publicly at this point, of how I've kind of transitioned through this and really made an impact through it. Because I would love to tell you it was this wonderful, hey, I made this decision at the very beginning of Joy and I doing this business and moving forward. It was exactly the opposite. It was very much me hiding in the background, being supportive, but not really being out front and center, and almost being worried that Joy being front and center would be a bad thing. Now I would tell you, at a company where I am quite literally the face of the organization. If you go to the asset optimization division within RealPage, it's my picture that shows up. I am the second most popular Bowen at that company. I'm not even the first one, and Kim Bowen's number 3. So I took his 5. By the way, you can download all 25 of his things that he says impact is to create an impact theory. I boiled them down really into 3 key categories of, if you want to make an impact, what do you need to do? And there were 3 main categories of things that really came front and center. The first one, be you. I mean, be authentically you. Don't worry about the warts. Don't worry about the wrinkles. Don't worry about, will they like me, etc. Be you. You are enough. that was the first message that came through loud and clear when I looked through these 25 different impact items as to how to really make that impact. Well, what does that mean? We talk about being authentic. That's more than just sharing your struggles. And there's an aspect of that to be in your level. But what drives you? Why do you do this? Why is it important to you that people be on their health journey? Why is it important to you that you're building this business? And I know that comes down to something we talk about a lot, and that's clearly defining your why. Why is it that you really are doing this at the end of the day? More than I'd like a little more income. That why will not drive you. That why will not attract other people, quite honestly. You need to have a very clear definition of why. And he goes into this pretty focused on there in the second portion, which I'll get into. The second part of being you is being willing to be vulnerable. And I think this is what I really struggled with for the first, call it 2.5, 3 years of our business. Not so much that I was not willing to be vulnerable, Joy, or willing to be vulnerable in my posts or anything else. I was not willing to be vulnerable to truly be all in because I had an employer I was worried about. Now, I think the approach I took over time ended up being an okay thing, but I probably could have sped that process out a whole lot in time. And then the third way that he really is focused in on being you is being realistic. And he tells this great story in the podcast of when he asked his father-in-law for his daughter's hand in marriage. And his father-in-law, who he has obviously a huge amount of respect for, who is also a very cut-it-straight kind of person, literally told him, no, you are not the person I want my daughter to marry. You are not going to be able to support my daughter in the way that she has become accustomed to be supported. Y'all, this is a person who created a company that sold for $10 billion. Yes, I said that with a B in the front of it on there. He took that as motivation to be in that. But that smack of realism, to be able to take that and be able to, for those of you who know Tim Glover in his book Relentless, to be able to use that dark side of that motivation really started to drive him. But he was realistic, and at the time he realized shortly thereafter that at 24, going to his father-in-law and asking for that he had an awesome amount of ambition, but zero drive. Ambition is not going to take you anywhere. The drive is what pushes you forward. And that was a big wake-up call to him to be able to really understand, I have a fairly delusional goal in life. I actually have two of them that are very intertwined. And Joy's like, really? What's this? I'm not even sure what we're going to talk about here at this point. Number one, I want to be a main stage speaker at Summit one day. I want to be in front of 10,000 people in a breakout room talking about something at Summit at Beachbody. I've got the idea of what I want it to be. We'll see if that pans out over time. But I also want to give a TED Talk at some point in my life. I actually want to be on stage doing a TED Talk on there. Those are BHAGs. Those are big, hairy, audacious goals. I've got to have a lot of success before we can even be considered in those. It's one thing to get up in front of a company conference with 500 people at it. It's very different to do a TED Talk that's going to be published out there. But I have that goal to be able to work for there. Is it realistic? Damn straight it's realistic, and it's going to happen on there. And the reason I can say that is because of major category number 2. So we talked about be you. The second thing is be focused. Be super focused on what it is you want. And that starts with clarity. And he gives us a great example in the talk about, he'll ask people, what do you want? What are your goals? And their goals, I want to win a gold medal. Let's use the top end. I want to win a gold medal. And his response is, okay, great. In the Olympics? Oh, yeah, in the Olympics. Okay, winter or summer? Oh, well, winter. Or pardon me, well, winter, yeah, sure. Okay, great. Is that in skiing or skating? Oh, well, skiing. Oh, well, downhill, slalom, freestyle. Get into that super focused, again, to use Jim Collins' words from Good to Great, that BHAG, that big, hairy, audacious goal, the thing that scares you when you think about it. The idea of giving a TED Talk for me scares the hell out of me, but I want to do it. Now, in order to do that, I've got to work backwards, and all of us need to work backwards on there from that big goal. And it's not enough to take these goals and say, well, I'm going to put a date on it, so it's not a dream. Well, that dream with a date is a goal. Yeah, it kind of is, but it's not really a goal until you've worked backwards to say, okay, what are the things that will get me to that? Joy pointed out that you got new leadership conference qualification, that you got to be in qualification. Please don't quote me on this date. I think it's November 17th. But in order to be able to get qualification at that point, that means you need to be in 1-star qualification at that point, which means you need to be a diamond, and you need to have sponsored a diamond, which means they need to have gone emerald and found 2 emeralds and 4 other coaches on each side of those legs. And what are those steps to get there at this point? And how much activity does it actually take to get there to that point? And that's where you set your focus, is on that activity level, because that's what you can control. You can control the effort that you put in at the end of the day. You cannot control the outcome. You cannot control whether someone says yes, no, maybe, not today, whatever else, but you can control, are you putting in the work? That's being focused in this regards. The third major category, and I realize I'm blazing through this, but this is what I do for a living, so welcome to my life. The third one is be better. So the first one, be you, and be authentically you. But don't let that be you be static, basically. Be better tomorrow than you are today. Now, we talk a lot about that with personal development, and we talk about listening to podcasts and listening in there. But I want to start even before that. I know several of you on the call have been a part of mastermind groups in the past, or are a part of the mastermind groups, or the push or the Firefly groups. And one of the things on that checklist is your affirmations. Y'all, what you say every day out loud matters. What you say internally matters. I mean, how many of you have a memory from the past that you really aren't sure if the way you remembered is the way it actually happened, or just the way you've completely retold the story over time and you're not sure if it really is exactly that way or not? I do. I have lots that way. We're all kind of that way. That is one of the examples of, if you continually tell yourself something, it will change what you believe, and it will change what you think. And that's what affirmations are all about. So as you get those and you're doing those, and for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, as a part of our more advanced groups, we've got a group where we literally have you type out or handwrite out and then daily repeat to yourself, ideally out loud, because you will cognitively understand it and it will sink into your psyche more if you literally say it out loud, as to not where you at today, but where do you see yourself becoming? What's your future self? What's that message your future self would be telling yourself right now in those cases? That cognitively actually does change you. It is important that you do it. It's important that, and here's why I'm stressing this. I think I can count on one hand how many times I've seen those mastermind sheets where someone didn't click over the, oh yeah, affirmations done, affirmation done, affirmation done, affirmation done. Y'all, I've got my affirmations. There's no way I do them every day. I would love to tell you I do them every day. I don't. There are times I forget. It's on there. It's okay. I didn't click it off. Fine. Do those. Those absolutely matter. The second thing that he really honed in on, and this is a tough one, be ruthlessly honest with yourself. Ruthlessly honest with yourself. So as you're reviewing things, and I'm not saying beat yourself up. That is not what I'm saying. But as you're evaluating where you could have done better, where you could have done more, where you need improvement, don't sugarcoat yourself. Be ruthlessly honest with where you're at so that you can take the actions moving forward to improve that area. And by the way, you can always get better. Always. Always getting better at that. The third thing that he said on this when it comes to being better, and this is one that I've been purposely trying to work on myself, is putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. When you're in an uncomfortable, and I'm not talking physically in danger, that's not what I'm talking about, obviously, although for some of us, like crazy ones like me who like martial arts, that is one of the things you do. But I'm talking about areas where you don't feel like you're at your best. So for me, that's one-on-one relationship. Like I am great in front of a room of 1,000 people, one-on-one conversations with people I don't know and I don't think I have a connection with. That is still very much a point of problem in my life and my lack of self-worth and self-belief. It simply is. I know what it is. I know I need to work on it every day. So I make sure I try and put myself in those conversations. I try and put myself out there for that. I need to be, really transparent. When I'm trying to get someone on the phone or whatnot, whether it's for my work or for this business, I have a huge issue with self-worth as to why would that person want to talk to me? Just what I grew up with. It's what I deal with. It's fine. It's what I need to do. But that is something I need to put myself in daily so that I can be working and pushing through that. Yours may be something completely different, but you need to find out what that is and be able to put yourself in there so you can continually push and move forward and make that impact. Then the last thing that we talked about when this, be better. Everyone you come in contact with can teach you something. Everyone. And that may be as simple as not everyone's going to do this. Who cares? Move on. We'll go back to that self-talk. One of the things that, we'll hear with the different coaches that we work with is, oh, well, everyone says no, and nobody's going to do this all the time. And that's right. Some will, some won't. So what next? But they can teach you something. And even if that's teaching you as something that's as, I don't know what the right word is, but as contrite as, okay, great. This isn't for everybody, so let's move on. Let's find the next one that is. Let's evaluate what we did and say, is it you or is it me? And if it is something that we're doing differently, because we always want to improve, we always want to have those pointed out to you. Let's effectively make those changes. And sometimes it is as simple as what Joy mentioned earlier with Facebook. Facebook is changing the way they want people to interact. It's a pretty simple thing. It means that we have to be nimble. We have to be able to change. We have to be able to recognize that and start to say, okay, well, what do we do? Do we, completely move over and start shifting into focusing on Instagram stories or really as a recruitment tool? They're widely looked at. They're widely used. Do we use hashtags to do that? Do we use a chat bot that's able to do it like a STEM social? All those are the things that we continually move on. But with all of that said, the core process of connect with someone, make a real connection, invite, be a product of the product, all of those things are still those core things that go on day in, day out that matter most to what we do in those business. So again, if you're looking to be that impact, if you're really going to, I really took this 25 things, like I said, I narrowed it down to those 3 major ones that I'm going to go over real quick again. The first one, be you, which means be authentically out there and be vulnerable. Like it's impossible to put yourself out there and not get a stone thrown at you. It just is. Just be ready for it. The second one, be focused. Whatever your goals are, whatever it is you're looking for, clearly define them. Define the steps that it takes to get to them and let nothing get in your way for that between those. And then the third one is be better. That's self-development. That is self-realization. And that is actively looking for those who do things potentially better than you do, whether that is through authorship, books, podcasts, videos, all those things, or through direct relationship with other coaches on the team, other mentors, leadership within the team. Candidly, to those of you who've been a while and know their team coaches outside of the group, that's not necessarily a bad thing either. Both Joy and I have relationships with coaches outside of this organization who we trust and respect and see what they're doing. That, I mean, we're not pinging them every day. Like I'll use Jamie Fitzpatrick as my example. I mean, I'm not, Joy will tell you I stalk him, which is true, but I'm not out pinging him every day. That's on there, but I'll go and have those conversations. So again, the 2 podcasts, just so you have them, Finding Mastery with Michael Gervais, and then Impact Theory with Tony Bellew are the ones that I kind of pulled most of this from, because nothing I say is ever an original idea. Go through there. So that's what I've got to deliver. Questions, comments.
I loved the vulnerability, like be vulnerable. I actually took lots of notes, but and I have some homework for everyone, so you don't get off the call without homework. You all know that. But I will say a few months ago, if I had a vulnerable spot in the business, it was 2 things. It was Instagram, and it was this whole idea of shifting to getting on a video chat with somebody about this business instead of just having a conversation through messaging. And I remember the first time that I was like, okay, like I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. I'm going to, learn how to be comfortable on Zoom, talking to someone about this coaching opportunity. And the first time, y'all, I was sweating. I was so pitted out. I stumbled over my words. I didn't know what I was doing. It felt foreign and new and all of those things that felt vulnerable, right? And I didn't, I guess what you would say, close the sale. I don't feel like coaching is a sale, but I didn't close the person on joining our team. But I learned so much. And you know what? The next time that I got on a Zoom call, I got better. And the next time I got on a Zoom call, I got better. And now that's the thing I look forward to the most in my week, is getting on these Zoom calls face to face with people, hearing their story. And it has supercharged me in a way that I didn't even realize that I needed to be supercharged. Does that make sense? So it's good to identify those areas of growth in our business. After 4 years, I'm still growing. I haven't figured it out, right? Like not everything. And that's the beautiful part about this business, is that it's always changing, and we can always be learning, always be growing, always be trying new things. That idea of being nimble is so very true. Before I go into homework, anybody have some questions or insights or things they want to share? Aha moments?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we talk a lot about being you, and you and I know where I am with that. But the being focused, Andrew, it's not the focus. It's coming down to like what Josh Coates asked at that round table, right? It's what do you want, right? And I even texted you today to see those 3 things. Is there a really good book that helps you figure out what it is? If it doesn't just come sparkly to you and you don't know, I think that's where I need to unlock. And I don't know what a great maybe book read is for that. Or is that literally sitting down and like with my financial guy that says, sit down and dream. What do you want to do? Are we talking that kind of a focus? That's where I'm lost.
Yeah, I would tell you that, and I'll let Joy jump in on this one too. No, I don't think, for most people, your why is not a number on a sheet. So it's not a number in a bank account. It's not those types of things. Like the financial guy is going to tell you to go ahead and dream of what that looks like is.
Right.
For most people, it is a lot deeper than that. And God, is there a good book to be able to do that?
I know my 3, and none of them have to do with money, but I just, maybe maybe that's enough. I guess sometimes I think my answer is not enough. Not that I'm not enough, but then my answer isn't like bold enough to be focused enough to be persistent enough.
Does it hold your attention?
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what I keep going back to. Well, I keep getting out of bed to do this, and I love it.
No.
I love it.
Yeah, not, hey, you keep coming back to that answer.
Oh.
Does it capture your attention? Does it make you, does it put you in a spot where you're willing to go mama bear on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you can answer yes to that question. If you can really say, yeah, this is something that I'm willing to go mama bear on, then yeah, I think you probably are there. And then it's a matter of really getting hyper focused on the details around it. So, I want to be debt free. Like I want to be debt free. Okay, what does that look like? I mean, is that truly debt free? Or are you talking about everything just but your house? Or are you talking about truly that one of our Joyce and my goal on this is to get me off the road. Not necessarily get me out of employment, but get me off of the road. Well, we know what that looks like and what that will probably take, and it's a big goal to be able to do that. And be able to give our kids a foundation that they're not going to have to worry and work through some of the debt that we've had to work through in our lives to be able to get that. And that's got obviously real numbers associated with it, but it's a drive there. For me also, quite honestly, one of the passion points of this one is I want to help as many dudes as humanly possible not have to go through the health problems that 80% of America is going through right now because they just don't pay attention to their health. Whether that's 1 or 1,000.
I will tell you there were like some silly things, like those are our big whys, but I'll tell you there were some silly things and maybe some meaningful things that helped me define my stepping stone goals, I guess, if you will. One was right after the Diamond Retreat. Like I had a burning desire because I wanted to bring women back with me. I wanted to do something, to pamper women who had achieved a certain degree of success in their business. I wanted to take them on a retreat, and I wanted them to be pampered, and I wanted them to feel special and loved and a part of a team that was doing amazing things. Like I just had that vision of like, I want to pass this forward to other women. And that was a goal for mine the next year, was like, I want to bring women back with me to a Diamond Retreat. I remember a New Leader Conference. That was a huge one for me because I felt like, okay, that's kind of setting me apart into a different pocket of leaders that I want to be around and learn from. So that was motivating. I'll tell you what, though, the big one was 5-star. And there were 2 motivating things that I was like, I have no idea who will be my 5-star leaders, but I'm going 5-star. And that was my first year in the business. I did not qualify. I was a 4-star that first year. And like Lauren and Stephanie and Amber and all of them went to leadership. And it was in Coronado, San Diego. And they were drinking like, I don't know, some new flavor of Shakeology. And they were all having a blast. And I wasn't there. And I was like, I'm going to be there next year. I don't know how, but I am going to be there next year. And I worked my fanny off in order to get to leadership. But the other thing about 5-star is that I knew it also came with the VIP line, the diamond line. When you're a 5-star diamond, you guys, you get your own personal like bat phone, where you can dial.
Seriously, they know her by name, y'all.
They do. I call and they're like, hey, Joy, it is worth going 5-star just to have that level of service to me. I find it incredibly awesome. And so those are just like the little things that have helped me set some goals. I will tell you, our team going 10-star, that is all about team. That is all about teamwork and having the core leaders who are moving forward together for the sake of and growth of the team, right? Because growth is everything to an organization, right? Everyone wants to be a part of a winning team. And so if our team isn't growing and moving forward and reaching new goals, we're stagnant. And no one wants to join a stagnant team, right? Everyone wants to join a winning team. So anyway, I don't know if that helps or not, but those were like little things that helped me set goals that I was willing to work really hard for. And I will tell you this. So one of the homework things, and then we'll get back to questions and stuff, is that I want you all to write down what your next goal is and what is the date you want to achieve the goal. Because as Debbie will tell you, her date that she drew a line in the sand was last Thursday. She wanted to wake up a new diamond last Thursday. And she needed one more coach to make that goal a reality. And she and I were like on the phone at, 11:30 at night trying to like work out the final things that needed to happen in order to solidify the rank or whatever. Like when you have a deadline, you just make it happen. Your brain starts to process through, how can I reach this goal? So if you are not yet an Emerald, you need to like write down, I am an Emerald coach, and what is the date that is going to happen. Remember, like our weeks start over on Thursday. So it will be like whatever Thursday you pick, you want to wake up as a bright and shiny Emerald. If you are an Emerald, what's going to be your date for Diamond? Circle that bad boy. Even if it makes you vomit, just do it, right? Because if you're like, oh yeah, I would like to be Diamond someday, but you don't have a date, it will never happen. I've seen it over and over again. Like everyone waits until like the last 2 weeks to crush their goal. And then like when we've run out of year, all of a sudden it happens for people because they brought that extra level of hustle. Move up your deadline. You do not want to be climbing Mount Everest in the middle of December. Trust me. But figure out what your next goal is. What is your deadline? Write it down and share it with your upline. I also am going to share in our team page our affirmations guide. I would love, if you guys are not already using affirmations, please take that guide and write out your affirmations this week and start saying them every single day. You'll want to share them with your upline coach because you need to make sure that your affirmations are actually affirmations. Sometimes we write them and it's like we didn't realize that we actually are reinforcing a negative thing instead of reinforcing a positive message. So take your best swipe at them and then send them to your upline and make sure that they are affirmations and not accidentally reinforcing a negative message. And the last thing is, y'all know I'm a big fan of the tracker that we've been using this year. And that's because what you track grows in business. So you like, it's part of that, get brutally honest with your level of activity with, what you are doing to contribute toward moving toward those goals. What can you take responsibility for? That tracker will keep you super focused and super honest. So if you are not already using the tracker, that's something that we recommend you do, like as soon as Coach Basics is pretty much wrapped up, you need to start using that tracker to help you keep moving forward. So we'll make sure to post that in the page as well. Any questions?
So Elizabeth had one that I'm going to address real quick, and that was basically, how did I get comfortable with letting my employer know that what I was doing with Beachbody? And here's what I would tell you. If you are sharing on social media and being authentic in social media, your employer knows. It's that simple. And I think that where I became comfortable with it, quite honestly, was when I started having coworkers approaching me and Joy about help. And that has obviously since expanded to clients. I'll spill the beans. Jessica's on our company steering committee as clients for our product set that's on there. So I actually have lots of clients now that are a part of this group. And the reality is, if you actually are doing this for the quote unquote right reasons, if you are in this to help other people live their healthiest lives, I haven't met an employer yet that's going to say, hey, we don't want that as a part of our organization, etc. And I will tell you, I'm still very careful about the fact that when I'm on RealPage property and I'm going around doing these things, I don't like to talk about it a whole bunch. Like that's one of, like, if you want to go deep enough into our bylaws and employee handbook, there's this one little line that of course I read and paid attention to that says, no soliciting directly at work. Like, you're not even at RealPage, you're not even allowed to sell Girl Scout cookies when you're on work, which is fine. And I respect that. And actually, one of the things that I've made a real point to is, and Tom Bilyeu talks about this, is at one point Michael Gervais asked him, like, well, how do you achieve balance in your life? And part of his answer I didn't really agree with, and he goes, I have no value for balance. Balance doesn't matter to me at all. But the part that I was fascinated by, that I've kind of lived, is in his idea, balance is only possible if you're living at the extremes. You're extremely invested over here when that time is right. You're extremely invested over here when that time is right. And there's very few times when those things overlap. But I will tell you, they will overlap. When I was at the management conference this past week, literally the first person that came up to me was, her first words out of her mouth were, "I love your wife, and I would not have felt the way I did on my wedding day if it wasn't for her." Like, they're going to overlap, and people will know what's going on. But if your performance and dedication to them still warrants the promotion, or warrants the added influence, or warrants the pairs, I'm living proof that's still going to happen. And I've had folks in that organization that, have SVP and C levels in their title, who know exactly what I do. Every time they see me, they call me Road Warrior. That's in play. But it's just, again, living that true, authentic life and giving as much to both opportunities when that time is correct. That's the way I would say it. But it took me a while to get there, Elizabeth. That was not something that happened when we first started.
I think it's really difficult to be critical, of your story, right? And that's what we teach on the team. And so when Andrew finally started sharing his story about how he almost died from atrial flutter, 6 years ago, it's really hard for somebody to say, oh, well, you shouldn't do that Beachbody thing because it's actually helping to keep him healthy. Same is true with my story, right? And we all have a story of health woven into our lives. Like, we all have that story to share. And so I think what makes us different and what helps employers, first of all, you got to show up and give your A game to your employer. Like, when you're on the clock, you got to give your A game to on the clock. But when you're off the clock and you're sharing your story and you're authentically growing into a better human being, you know what that does? It makes you a better employee, first of all. And then secondly, no one's going to criticize you for wanting to live a healthy life and help others do the same. I just don't see that, especially if you're not going into your employer's, office space and selling. That's not what we do, right? And so for Andrew, he's kind of had this policy of like, if they come to me, if they reach out to me, like initially it was like, if they ask me about it, I'm going to pass them off to Joy. And so I would have the conversation with people who had that connection at work. And now it's kind of gotten to the point where it's like, well, as long as we're off work and like off the clock, I'll have a conversation. So it's kind of been this comfort level for Andrew, I think, that's evolved over time. It used to be that was Joy's thing, and now it's our thing, and now it's like it's my thing too, I hope that helps. Does that help, Elizabeth? Elizabeth! Hello! I think she's frozen.
I think she's frozen, yeah.
So anyway, okay, good. You were frozen there. So anyway, yeah, I mean, like, whatever you do it with excellence, right? That's like a biblical principle. So if you're at work, do it with excellence. If you're doing Beachbody, do it with excellence. And no one is ever going to criticize you for doing that. And if they do, they're not really your tribe. They really aren't. And sometimes that's hard when we thought like our closest friends who we thought would be really supportive, when they turn out that they're not really supportive, like that's a really hard thing. But I always count it a blessing when God reveals like, hey, like these are the people you need to focus on. These are the people that I have for you to help. So that I don't, put my time into other things. Right. All right. That was a lot of stuff. Anybody else have anything they want to say before we all like hit the bed and go snoozing and take a sleep? Okay. I adore you guys. I love you for giving your time. I love you for showing up and helping people reach their God-given potential. But most of all, I want you to reach your God-given potential. Don't you dare fall short of all those dreams and goals that God has planted in your heart. They are the universe tugging at your heart, telling you that it's okay for you to go be amazing. So don't ever hold back, okay? All right, you guys, that's it. We'll post in the team page all the stuff, and we are going to have an amazing September. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Okay, bye.